Did anybody guess?
Ready, Steve?
We're live.
Committee? Okay, let's bring Improvement Services Committee to order. Let it be recorded, Nicholson, Worry, Nenning are present. Vanderleest is excused. I need a motion for the approval of minutes from the regular meeting, April 12th, 2017.
Move to approve.
Motion by Nenning, second by Worry. Under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 2, approval of the agenda.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Worry, second by Nenning. Under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 3, consideration with possible action on request by Alderman Nenning to discuss appropriate measures to improve safety on the right-of-way along Baird Creek Road, which is used by mountain bikers. Alderman Nenning.
Okay, this was brought to my attention about 2 weeks ago, that in Bear Creek Parkway, there's a lot of mountain biking. It's a very popular activity. And but there are paths that the mountain bikers have cut through the woods. That there's one spot in particular that has some safety concerns, and there have been some falls that have occurred there. And when it was brought to my attention, I went out and looked at it, and here's a photo I took of it. These are not city-approved trails, but they're trails that the mountain bikers themselves have cut through the property. There was a rather serious accident by an individual who fell off of that trail, and there's a very sharp embankment going down to the creek at that point. And as we looked into it, it was determined that this actually isn't park property. It's public right-of-way along Bear Creek Road. So I talked to Director Grenier, and he and his staff looked at some options here, and I just wanted to have a short discussion.
Certainly. As Alderman Nenning indicated, the area that's under discussion empties out of the Baird Creek Trail system on Superior Road, travels north along Superior to Baird Creek Road, and then continues west along Baird Creek Road to the trailhead and parking lot that's on Baird Creek Road, then running west on the Baird Creek Trail, comes up along the old Liebman Spur, pops up at Dan's Avenue, and continues on to the west from there. As Alderman Nenning indicates, that section between Superior Road and the trailhead on Baird Creek Road is actually within the public right-of-way. It's not within a parkway. And where the mountain bikers have cut that trail at this time is actually not where they should be going. The trail should actually be following Baird Creek Road for that portion of the distance there. So another thing that was identified that we were unaware of is that there are some metal snow fence poles with reflectors on them. And one of the things that was run in the story on Channel 5 was that those posts would not withstand a strike from an automobile. Because they're within the clear zone of the roadway, they are designed to be breakaway. Everything has to be breakaway, including the wooden posts. They're not intended to stop a car. They're intended to redirect something that hits at a 20-degree angle or less. That's even your guardrail. So if you're driving down Main Street and you see the guardrails on Main Street, if you strike that guardrail more than a 20-degree angle, it's designed to flop over. You're going to go clean through it. Okay, just a little tidbit on breakaway within the clear zone. So I did talk to staff. There are 45 metal posts that were identified. Those can be replaced with wooden posts to be consistent with the rest of that south side of Baird Creek Road. That would be about $2,500. Additionally, what we are proposing to do is to sign Baird Creek Road as the trail, so that folks coming out of the Baird Creek trailhead or coming out along Superior Road, there are actually signs alongside the road directing them to use the shoulders of the road or the road itself for both pedestrian and/or bike activity to connect those two separate pieces of the trail. In addition to the wayfinding signs connecting the two pieces of the trail, where the mountain bikers have cut their own trails in the area that Alderman Nenning has described, we would put signs up there indicating not a trail, do not enter. So we would deter folks from going into those areas where it's dangerous to ride the mountain bike, to try to keep them out. 420 signs, we're estimating a cost of about $3,000. So staff is looking at an investment of just under $6,000. We can go ahead and have the signs fabricated using our in-house sign shop, and DPW staff would install those signs this summer, get that road properly marked, and deter people from entering the dangerous areas.
Okay, this particular area is in my district, but it's very close to Alderman Nicholson's district as well as Alderman Dwayne's district. And you know, I know that people, my friends who mountain bike, they like rugged trails, but at least my own inspection of it looked like it was awfully dangerous
Correct.
to continue along the right of way there. So, is there any discussion on it?
How long is this stretch? Mr. Chairman?
About a quarter of a mile.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody may not be happy with that, but it's kind of making the best of the situation and trying to make it as safe as we can. There isn't enough right-of-way there that you could have, you could relocate the path and make it safe. It's a very narrow area there. And frankly, I think the mountain biking itself, with the volume of mountain bikers that travel that, it actually, it erodes the soil, and when the weather is bad, the path becomes slippery, and, you know, causes issues there. So that's the solution that we came up with. I don't know if there's anyone that wants to comment on it. Okay. If not, I make a motion to receive and place on file the report.
Motion to receive and place on file by Nenning, second by Worry.
I'll
Under
second.
discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're receiving it and placing it on file with the knowledge that staff is proceeding with the posts and the sign, is that?
Right.
Okay. Very good, thanks.
Yeah, I think it's a situation like anywhere else, that if there's something within the right-of-way that is hazardous to the public, that our department has the authority to address it, and I think that's what we're looking for.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye?
Nays, motion carried. Okay, moving forward, number 4, consideration of possible action regarding the request by the Department of Public Works to award a professional services contract to SRF Consulting Group Incorporated, an amount of $43,946 to complete a study of truck traffic on Broadway from Mather to 9th, referred from April 5th, 2017 Common Council meeting. Director Grenier?
As we identified at the last INS meeting, when the item was referred back, Alderman Scannell also put a separate communication in to have staff work on solutions. We neglected to get this item back on the agenda, so the contract was never disposed of, but the committee made recommendation to the council, which was ultimately authorized to have staff proceed with the work. So all we're doing is dotting our i's, crossing our t's, and we need to dispose of this contract to either award it, receive and place on file, or deny it.
Okay. Any questions or concerns from the committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, there was not support at the council
Alderman
to
Nenning.
award the contract, so I guess I'd make a motion to receive it and place it on file.
That would be fine.
Is that acceptable? Okay.
Yeah. Motion by Nenning to receive and place on file, second by Worry. Under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 5, consideration with possible action regarding draft modification to sections 13-1602 and 29.203 sub 11 Green Bay Municipal Code relating to parking of vehicles within the terrace, referred back from April 5th Common Council meeting.
I'm handing
Steve,
out,
or Director Grenier?
I'm handing out to you copies of the draft ordinances that were placed into the April 5th, 2017 Common Council packet that provide the modifications to the 2 sections of Green Bay Municipal Code that Alderman Nicholson referenced, that came out of our earlier committee meetings. That would have been in September of 2016. So because these ordinances were sent back here, I was not involved with any discussion in regard to this. I'm presuming that there were some modifications to this ordinance that were anticipated or were desired. But I don't know.
I
don't
thought you
even
did know.
No, I don't
Okay.
even know who made the referral to this item back. to be
I
honest
believe it
with
was Slotnick.
you. Okay.
I guess the change was.
I was at that meeting.
Chris,
and I
just,
thought that- I
one
thought that-
second,
sure.
1 second. Chris, what was passed a couple months ago, or 6 months ago, and what was the change?
Well, the proposal that was.
You were
written-
involved with this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The proposal that was written into the two ordinance changes for reading was that no one in the whole city can park with or without sidewalks in front of their house, could not park in the sidewalk section on their driveway or in the apron. And that, my understanding, raised some concerns because there's a lot of people who do park that way in their driveway, but don't really cause a problem. We're talking about the higher volume, say, rental locations, that type of
Mr.
stuff.
Seymour,
But it's-
just 1 second, Chris. Steve, we'll get to you. Don't worry. We're just gonna get an explanation. Then we'll get into the conversation and debate, okay? Just, please. Chris?
The biggest concern when it was first brought up, to my understanding, was people just parking at all different angles and orientations in their driveway. So, one of the thoughts, you and I had talked about it briefly, that
Right.
maybe there would be consideration for modify the ordinance, say, okay, if you're gonna park in your driveway, number one, you can't block any sidewalk. That's already a city ordinance.
Right.
If you have sidewalks going in front of the houses, you can't block the sidewalk, because that's a pedestrian travel path. But to park, the thought was maybe, for consideration, let people park in a driveway, but it can only be perpendicular to the road, like a driveway's intended to, not sideways and helter-skelter all over the place. But if you can park in your driveway normal, you can get your cars in there, more power to you, but not at all different angles and partway on the grass, partway not on the grass. It's a quality of life issues.
Right.
As as you drive down the street, how does the neighborhood look? It's more of a quality of life issue than a parking issue.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was one of the thoughts, as I understand that, made it come back to Improvement and Services Committee for some discussion.
So
Okay.
if we can summarize that, Chris, there was some discussion to potentially amend what we came up with to allow parking parallel with the orientation of the driveway, provided that you don't block the sidewalk and don't
Right.
project into the road.
Right, parallel with the
Okay.
orientation of the driveway only, not at angles and crossways and slantways and backways.
Right. Okay. All right, thanks, Chris. Alderman Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there are some people here for this, so I'd make a motion to open the floor.
There's a motion by Worry to open up the floor for interested parties. Is there a second by Nenning?
Second.
Second by Nenning. Under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays was carried. Now the floor is open. Just please raise your hand and I will recognize you. And when you approach the committee, just state your name, address for the record, please. And then just stick to the issue of the parking, okay? So, Mr. Seymour, you raised your hand first. Do you want to speak?
Sure do.
Okay. State your name and address for the record, please.
2544 Heather Road. I've been calling, I'm working with Andy on this, and he's worked with it, but I've been calling numerously times a week. And people are parked helter-skelter all over these aprons, and in fact, some of them, they poured a little cement out so they could, where the grass was, so you can get their tires on that. Last night, I called in 3 cars that are on the, tires on the grass, or the night before last.
When
Six
you're-
houses were-
Just one question, were on the grass, the front yard, or were they on the
They're
apron?
trying to park between the sidewalk and the wall.
Okay,
What you want.
on the apron.
And they're, like you said, they're parked willy-nilly in whatever way they can try. A lot of these duplexes are got, trying to park 2 cars in there in every direction. I call them numerous times, all winter long. People, not only they're parking that way, they're parking on the lawn, blah, blah, blah. It's just turning, the more easeway they get, the more ridiculous it gets. You know, I went to the planning meeting the other night and sat with Paul Newmeyer after and discussed many of these issues of parking on lawns, vehicles parking next to the houses, blah, blah, blah. From letting this, starting with them parking on that terrace, it's escalated to, and it says right here, I've called on vehicles that have been parked up alongside houses for over a year, and they're still there, recreation vehicles. That's a no, right? And when Andy calls it in down to inspection, they're telling them, well, as long as they're on paver blocks, they're all right. No, it specifically says parked upon a paved off-street parking area, paved, not a paver block, paved, specifically, right here.
Right, but let's stick to
Okay, I'm
parking
just
on
saying,
the
this is all
apron, please.
leading back to where this started.
well then just
This started with allowing them
bring
to
it back.
park between the terrace and the road, but it's escalated to the front yard in the winter, driveways being poured in front of the front doors of duplexes. 6 houses on the way here in one block area on Edgewood with vehicles parked in front of the front door, which is in violation of the Green Bay Code. Emergency vehicles, ambulance respondents can't get in. Now, parking between the terrace and the street, a big thing Paul and I were talking the other night that he brought up before I did, was the safety of pedestrians as they're walking on the sidewalk. You have vehicles, all the driveways are pitched toward the street. You have numerous people walking, babies in strollers, and they got their dogs with them, whatever, and they're going for a walk down the sidewalk. They're being jeopardized by these people parked in the driveway, and the thing Paul brought up is you got vehicles blocking the terrace area from the sidewalk to the road. So people are innocent walking on the road. Parking brake, whatever gives out on a vehicle sitting in the driveway and it starts rolling back, they're entrapped between that car and the vehicle parked on the other side of the sidewalk. The person has nowhere to go. They've got their kid in a stroller. You know, you want your grandchildren, your kids to be walking along and a car rolls back down the driveway and traps you between 2 cars. Another thing, you can't see these kids on bicycles. I've seen on Edgewood, there's a million kids around there and they're helter-skelter riding their bikes in and out. I seen a kid almost get hit by a car last year because car parked down on that terrace willy-nilly, like sideways and all over the place. Kid can't come down the driveway, so he jolts out on this side of the car coming this way, almost nailed him. Kid fell down on his bike, got back up there, he's so scared, he drove away. And the guy just left, you know? I mean, it's the public should not be jeopardized in that small area of sidewalk with a vehicle parked here and here of being entrapped between them vehicles if something would go wrong. You know, that's city property that we're walking down, and then they're allowing basically from the sidewalk to the curb is city property. And we're allowing people to park down there and possibly entrap people, vehicles, children, dogs, whatever. Cats, you know, walk your cat, whatever. They can get trapped in that area. That's not a big area, they have nowhere to go. And we're just leading on to bigger and better things. Now they got 30, 40-foot campers in their backyard. They got boats sitting along their house, have been sitting there for 2 years, never move. It just, by letting people in these, especially, now it's traveling in to the residential where the homes are. It's more or less the duplexes and everything else. Who knows, they have 2, 3, 4 families living in a 2-bedroom duplex. They're probably utilizing the garage and the basement. I'm just speculating. They could be housing people all over there. They got 4 or 5 cars in a 2-bedroom duplex. And the garage is so full, or they got somebody living in there. So now they're trying to park willy-nilly everywhere they can in the yard, and they're widening out driveways to in front of the front door of the house. Now you have 6.5 lanes of parking space in a front yard. Where'd the green go? They have, if you took this room, you'd have 1/3 of front yard and 2/3 of driveway, and they're parked right in front of the door, which is a violation of the code of the city. And I called on, there's 4 cars today just on the way here, 1 block on Edgewood, and the duplexes parked in front of the front door. One of them the other day had a motorcycle and then a car behind it. That's been sitting there with a busted out window and plastic on it for I don't know how long and hasn't moved, sitting right in front of the front door. And then you got a vehicle here. In front of a duplex, you got 6, 7 vehicles parked, 8 vehicles, and then they're parking on the terrace on the bottom, on top of it, at night. 4 of them last night. It's turning into a zoo. And all we're inviting, like I said in these meetings before, in the corner of Edgewood and Heather last year, 40 gunshots fired. Okay? One guy in his bed, bullet in his mattress. Went through 2 or 3 houses in that area, 2 for sure, I know of, where bullets went through the walls at home into people's homes. And by inviting this kind of traffic into that area, and these many families living in these small little duplexes and stuff, and how many people parked there, we got drug trafficking. I know the cops are running through backyards there more than once or twice a month. I see them. There are 2, 3, 4 cops sitting there, you know, and they're running, going through the backyards looking for people, whatever. And there's been a lot of stuff going. It's just been getting worse and worse. I've been there for 25 years. It was a beautiful neighborhood, Edgewood, when I first moved in, this neighborhood. And it's totally ghettoed up. We're turning it to 27th and Capitol pretty soon in Milwaukee, which, when I was down there working, I had a black police officer come into the building I was working. I said, "What are you doing here? You're like a sitting target." He says, "I don't even want to come in this neighborhood." Well, that's pretty much what we're turning our beautiful neighborhood into right now, by allowing this kind of parking, everything else that's going on. There's a list of things that we've dug into, the garbage cans and the trailers parked along houses and everything else. You know, they show you got an ordinance, they show you where to put your garbage cans, and they can't be outside, in sight. Well, I called on them, and I got the sheet, and they're all out of ordinance, and they've been there for a year or something, now they're getting worse. One block coming out my front door, down a normal residential house, no duplexes or nothing. 3, 4 houses, 5 houses, and out of 10 got garbage cans alongside the ground.
Steve, we're talking-
Because they see,
the
I'm just
issue
saying,
is the
everything we're
apron.
giving them,
Parking
giving this
on the
area,
apron.
it's spreading all over Green Bay. And it just gets worse instead of better.
Okay.
The parking situation is terrible. And allowing them to even park in that area between the sidewalk and the curb, it's unsafe to the citizens of this town that are paying their taxes to walk down that sidewalk, because they're putting in a position where they could be entrapped between 2 vehicles with their kids in a stroller,
Okay.
pets, whatever. It's a big danger to the citizens of Green Bay to allow this kind of parking, because it's endangering them by just walking between her. Big endangerment, I think, and it's junking up Green Bay. To me, we're turning ghetto, if you want to put it that way. We're turning bad as Milwaukee, Chicago, some of the bad areas. And if we allow this, the bad areas of Green Bay are just getting worse. And it's flowing right into some of the nicer areas, so. I mean, we gotta get rid of that parking situation altogether. They shouldn't be able to park anywhere down there. For the safety of other citizens, and also, like you say, they're willy-nilly parking every way they can. And there's no way you can park a vehicle this straight up and down a driveway in that area. How many driveways have that long of a terrace unless you've got a real mini little car or a motorcycle? That's about all that's gonna fit in there. So just get rid of it. No parking down there, period. Eliminate a lot of problems. Eliminate me having to call the police department 100 times a year and wasting our tax dollars on the police going out trying to give these people tickets that they never pay. Or they don't ticket them, and they make an excuse for them. So you're saying there's a law that passed that they can't park sideways willy-nilly now, or?
No, there's no law
But
that
that's in
stops
the
that.
works.
You can't, that was the wording on this proposed ordinance that came back to improvement of
That maybe they
services.
could park this way.
That the
They could
ordinance
park the
proposal
proper
was
way.
no parking on the apron of your driveway at all, and then no parking on, whether there's sidewalks or not in front of your house, no parking on the sidewalk section that's cut through your driveway.
Right. From your
That was
sidewalk
how
back,
it
that's
was
all
written. Yeah, and
considered
that
city
was
property
brought
anyhow.
back, yeah, the
So there
improvement
shouldn't be any
services.
parking on there.
Just further discussion.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Seymour. One second, Bill, we have this gentleman, that lady, or do you have a comment?
I'll just give my spiel along with everyone else, that's fine.
Okay, you're number 3. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Ken Hazard, 1716 Cypress Lane. I agree with a lot of stuff you said. On Abrams Street there is cars parked sideways in the driveway. I seen a kid get hit there 2 years ago. There's more gonna get hit if something's not done about it. You can't put your house for sale if you're in a neighborhood like that, because the real estate will tell you right out, your value has gone way down. I mean, something has to be done with this. All we're doing is making another Imperial Lane all over the neighborhood. Do we have to go and join, get next into Bellevue or something to get rid of this? I mean, this has been brought up many times, and nothing's done with it. People say, well, it's just at night. It's not just at night. You can go through there in the daytime, and cars are parked there also. People don't work 7 days a week where they have to move their cars. I mean, something has to be done with this, and I agree with what was just said. If you get where you can't park sideways in the apron and driveway, that will eliminate a lot of your problems. Green Bay is getting terrible. There are people who don't even want to live in Green Bay no more because of this. You cannot park any of your villages sideways in a driveway. Why can you do it in Green Bay? That's about all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. We're gonna go with this lady.
I just wanna make a
and then-
comment.
Just 1 second, we're gonna go with this lady. And then Mr. Galvin, and then we'll come, okay. And we'll come back to the back row and then,
Christine Delahut, and I live at 1048 Mary Jo Way. So my street is a connecting street from Van Beek Street and Edgewood Street. It's a little bit of a swing. And I agree with everything that this gentleman said and more. But listening to how you reworded that ordinance, if we could get people stop parking on the apron, because either way that I go out of my street, I have to go onto Van Beek Street or I have to go onto Edgewood Street, I cannot see oncoming traffic because we have trucks with campers on them, or we have buses or boats or whatever sitting on the driveway, and it obstructs your view. You can't, it's a big safety issue. I hold my breath every time I have to pull out onto those streets. And I would say that those duplexes all in a row, the people there that live there are very disrespectful. They speed through on my street, all the breakneck speeds. But the parking issue is really a safety issue for me. Not only is it unsightly, it's a safety issue. I can't believe that you have to tell people not to park 4 cars on an apron. 4. That's just not acceptable. It just isn't.
okay. Thank you. Bill? Then we'll go with the gentleman, the gray, blue, Tony, gentleman with the hat.
Thank you, committee. Representing my district, much of what I'm hearing here today is stuff that's already covered by city ordinance. If we're just talking about apron parking alone, where a vehicle is not on the grass, it's not over the sidewalk, it's not into the street, it's not obstructing anything. In my district, we have very many people that live in homes that have single driveways. They're very short, they're very narrow. They don't have garages, they just don't have the space. And so that apron, being able to park on that apron is very important to them. They live in the hospital, many of them are in the hospital corridor, so without a permit, they can't park on the street during the daytime. And this apron parking is necessary for them to be able to park their cars or if family comes to visit or anything else like that. I can't see creating an ordinance for the concerns of a small section of our community and then punish everyone else for it within the city. Like I said, there's already ordinances on the books. Parking utility can be called, inspection can be called, the police can be called, and if there's a violation, they can handle that. But if people are going the speed limit, these vehicles should not obstruct their vision. If they're traveling at the posted speed limit, they'll be going slow enough that they won't have a problem with kids darting out in front of them. And whether you have a vehicle parked there or not, kids are going to dart out in the street anyway. You know, there's trees, there's bushes, there's any number of other things within our community that can obstruct your vision. We're going to start cutting all those down, taking all that stuff out. I mean, we can't just keep throwing out new ordinances because something bothers us. We have to use the existing ordinances that we have to enforce those rules to keep this place a better place to live. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, gentleman in the back row in the checkered white shirt.
My name is Bernie Skoletsky. I live at 1121 Grignon. I do not have a problem with your ordinance, but I think if you vote for this, you're voting against family. Because 120, 150 years ago, the city planners didn't take this in consideration when they planned the city because they didn't know about it. When you have a one-stall driveway and you have a one-stall garage, you can put one car in the garage, you can put one car on the driveway. Where is your, and then your kid has a bicycle and he takes it and he rides it on the trails that you were just talking about a little bit ago. But when the trail doesn't lead to his job, he needs a car. So where are you gonna put the third car? That's why this is a vote against family. And it's also gonna devaluate your property, your houses, because nobody wants just 2 cars or limited to it, and the saleable to your property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen,
One suggestion I'd like to make, I only can hear half the words you're talking about up here. The lady that was here before in the park department, half the time she's talking like this, or she's talking like this, the words were just fumbled. So either gets the mic so we can hear what you're saying, or talk louder. Thank you.
thank you. Gentleman with the blue sweater, and then Tony Tyson and the gentleman with the hat, and we'll come back to Mr. Seymour.
Thanks for your time today. My name's Dan Freilich, 1121 South Clay Street. Yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with Mr. Skoletsky and Mr. Galvin here. You know, we live on Clay Street, like I said, and, you know, we had a big family. We had 6 kids, and they're all out of the house now, but, you know, there's other families like us in the neighborhood, and when you have a big family, you have kids going all over the place, it means you need more cars. So we needed that apron to park 2 cars because we live in the hospital corridor where you can't park on the street. And to park on the street, you have to have a permit, which costs money. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. So now when the kids come back home, sometimes, you know, the ones that live out of town, they stay with us, so there needs to be a place for them to park. And if this rule is, or this policy is changed, it's going to affect a lot of families in the hospital corridor area especially. So it's doesn't do us any good. I want to thank you for your time again.
Thank you. Mr. Tyson and the gentleman with the hat and Mr. Seymour. Anybody else, just raise your hand. Ma'am, did you raise your hand? Okay, you'll be after Mr. Seymour, or after the gentleman with the hat. Tony?
Tony Tyson, 931 South Baird. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. Number one, I was the alderman for 28 years. Observed a lot of parking on the apron. Never saw a problem with it. Never. Never saw it devalue a house. We're the second oldest. Excuse me, sir. You're gonna make noises when I talk?
Tony, can you just direct?
He at me.
Oh,
So-
I didn't hear
Okay,
that,
I
I'm sorry.
heard him. I'm closer.
Okay, Tony, just,
Yeah.
please, everybody
I'm
calm down,
offended. I'm
okay?
offended when somebody tells me
Mr.
they want to
Tice,
take away
Tony,
my parking on my apron. I've been doing that for years.
Tony,
And
let's stick to the
I'm
fa-
talking to the committee. I'm facing you guys. I got blinders on.
Tony,
I'm offended.
Tony, just one second, I have to interrupt you. If Mr. Seymour made a boo-boo at you, stop doing that, okay? All right, continue, Tony.
Thank you. My wife and I and our kids have been law-abiding residents of Green Bay for years. We park on the apron occasionally. We pay our taxes. We mow our lawn. We keep our house up, okay? Number one, the parking on the grass is a separate issue. You can enforce parking on the grass. I've called in many times. Number two, garbage cans here and there's a separate issue. Let's keep the issues straight. Drugs is a separate issue. This has nothing to do with parking on the apron.
Okay, so why are you bringing it up, Tony? Let's stick
Because
to the
it was
parking.
mentioned before, and I'm sure you guys are smart enough to
I
separate
grant some
truth from...
leeway, but I try to keep everybody focused. Mr.
Yeah, sorry
Tyson,
for
can you
getting
stay
off-
focused?
Thank you.
Bernie, can you
Just-
hear me back there? All right.
Just
Go ahead, Tony.
Just a comment for definition sake, related to parking within a terrace. Now, you gotta define your terms. I have always saw the terrace as the grass and the apron as the pavement, okay? It's illegal to park on the grass, whether it's your front yard or your terrace or anywhere. I'm talking about parking on the apron. And I prefer to park crossways, okay? I prefer to park crossways. And even so I would just leave it the way it is. Enforced parking on the grass, that's illegal. All the other stuff, I did see, because I heard there was an issue on Edgewood, so I drove down there last night. I did see 3 cars on the apron. I did see one of them had 1 or 2 tires, it was dark, but at least 1 tire was on the grass, which is now mud. That's enforceable, stay on the apron, okay? Just, let's focus on what the problem is, what the problem isn't. I've been on the 900 block of South Baird for 31 years. More than half the houses have sold since then, with me and a couple other people parking on the apron. The houses have not gone down in value because of parking on the apron. I know people that park diagonal, because just like diagonal parking, if you can get in and park diagonal, you can fit more cars. You got people with 2, 3, they're adult kids with cars. Sometimes I back my boat into my driveway, and then I take it, push it up by the garage, and I swing it so it's crossways. I don't want to be told that my boat has to go this way. I want to do it this way so that it can then fit my cars. I want to park in my apron. I respectfully request, okay, I've been going around the city and looking at how many cars are parked in the apron, not on the grass, in the apron. They're on the pavement, they're not blocking the sidewalk, they're not hanging into the street, they're on the apron, they're not causing a problem, they never have caused a problem. Because somebody doesn't like how it looks, that's personal opinion. Don't try to force somebody's personal opinion on me. We take care of our house, we like how our house looks, we don't see it as a problem if we're parked in our apron. We think it's fine, leave us alone. So I disagree with any changes. I don't call it, see, willy-nilly is subjective. Okay, call it as at an angle. If somebody wants to park at an angle, it's their driveway, they paved it, they have to fix it. It's my apron, I gotta pay for it. The other thing I've noticed is, when you get, like in my neighborhood, there are a lot of, single, especially if there's attached garage. You've got a single driveway with attached garage. You have room for 1 car sometimes between the sidewalk and the garage. Now, if somebody has an apron that's not wide enough to park on, I agree, they shouldn't park there. But Baird Street, Roosevelt Street, I think has 18-foot wide aprons. People parked in that apron are not bothering anybody. Like I said, in 28 years, you know that we all got calls on all sorts of stuff. I never got 1 call from anybody saying, let's get rid of parking in the apron. And my neighborhood has a lot of parking on the apron. Nobody ever said, let's get rid of it. So just by going around the city and looking at different neighborhoods and counting how many people are parked on the apron, I've extrapolated. Tonight, tomorrow night, last night, in the city of Green Bay, you have, my estimate, 500 to 1,000 cars on the aprons. So if you're gonna listen to a couple people that wanna stop it, you are taking away from hundreds of people what they wanna do, what they've been doing, and it's not right. It's not right just to let a couple people tell all of us law-abiding people what to do. What you do if we can't park on the apron, I know some houses where people, like it's mentioned, people have been paving from their driveway towards the middle of their yard. Now that looks like crap. I can tell you a couple places in my neighborhood where you have up to 15 feet paved in front of the house. I don't wanna, if you tell me I can't park on the apron, then I gotta start paving my front yard, and that's gonna look like crap. That's gonna devalue as far as I'm concerned, that looks like crap, paving a lot of your front yard. Some people got variances, and I don't know what the law is now, how far, you can pave a couple feet on both sides, I think. But look around, you folks might in your district have people that have paved from the driveway towards the front of their house. You're forcing people to do that. I don't want to do that, okay? So I am pleading with you, those hundreds of us, you got a few people, you have to listen to everybody, you have a few people that want to stop this, you have hundreds of people that are doing it, you don't have to hear from them, you just know they're out there. Don't take away a right that hundreds of law-abiding people are using every night. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Gentleman with the hat, then the lady, then Mr. Seymour. Did I forget anybody? No? Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. James Urbeck, 1125 South Jackson. Hospital corridor, I park in the easement. That's all I got to say. I mean, it's, we got 2 hours parking, and if in fact you're using your garage to work on something, you need to pull out, and I use the easement. That's it, guys.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am, and then Mr. Seymour.
Thank you. Mary Ann Freilich, 1121 South Clay Street, hospital corridor. And when we get guests, our guests are not allowed to park on the street because they don't have a sticker. And so they have to park in the driveway. And if we're already in the driveway with 2 cars and the only place for them to park is on the apron, that's where they need to park. So parking on the street gets them a ticket. You can go out there, you can come in and be in for 2 minutes and have the parking utility go through and give a ticket $20 later. So I'm definitely for, I agree with the lady that said it can be dangerous because it is, but you have to be careful, you look carefully, and then you proceed with caution. So I would be definitely against putting limitations on parking in the apron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Seymour.
Safety issue,
And we're
number one again.
And Steve, let's.
2544 Heather.
No,
Road,
let's
Steve
stick
Seymour.
to the issue. I mean, parking, okay?
This is parking.
All right, I just want to
Parking
make
at the
sure. I just
bottom
want
of
to
the
try to
driveway
keep you
between the road and
focused.
the sidewalk. Everybody's saying that it's safe. It's not safe. Like I said, if a parking brake goes out on a car, they don't put it in park, they don't put their emergency brake on. You're putting citizens that are walking down the sidewalk, it's owned by the city, so is the bottom of the driveway, not to be parked on. And I've lived in Green Bay all my life, and growing up, I don't remember cars parked on the apron and beyond between the sidewalk and the curb my entire life. And I grew up with families with 10, 12, 14, 18 kids. When you got 6 kids in a house, obviously it's not a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom home. It's a pretty big house. And normally in these larger houses, you got a driveway long enough to park 6, 7 cars in. I grew up with people, I know people with large families and their large houses, and there's plenty of driveway, and there's usually a 2, 3-stall garage at the end. And it's not, it's just a small area of Green Bay that's bothered with people saying at the hospitals, how come they got these parking lots all in a hospital area where people can park their cars at? They don't have to go right to, I go to the hospital, the doctor's office, Bellin, whatever, St. Vincent's. I never have parking anywhere around that area. There's parking garages, there's malls, there's parking lots. I've never had an issue with parking in that area. I don't know where they're coming from. Like I say, you got large homes for large families, which usually has a large driveway. I know people that have 12 people in their family. They never had a parking issue. And reverting to putting a boat sideways in your driveway, that's not a part of this ordinance. You can park your boat willy-nilly in your driveway, your car sideways, anything you want to do in your driveway, that's your driveway. But now we're talking about city property and endangering the lives of children, being pushed in strollers and everything else, being entrapped between cars in that area. Kids riding their bicycles out, it blocks the view. There's a million safety issues there. And the fact of, a gentleman mentioned widening the driveways. I went down Edgewood, like I said on the way here, 5 to 6 vehicles at least parked in front of the front door in a widened driveway. And it's 2/3 of their front yard is driveway now. And they're parked, that many vehicles today alone parked in front of the front door, that's a violation, okay? They can put a driveway in their whole frickin' front yard if they want to, but then they just gotta have so much green. But the fact is, there's an ordinance that says you can't park in front of your front door, which they're doing and getting away with it.
Mr. Chairman,
What? Yes, you,
apologize for interfering, but if we could potentially have maybe new information, and I appreciate you want to get up and say it, but we're hearing the same thing again.
Well,
And I heard it
I'm
the
just
first time,
repeating
so
the
If we want to hear it
arguments
again
of
from
bringing up
everybody, we could do that, maybe 3 times from everyone, but.
people are bringing up arguments
just a point well taken. Go ahead, Mr.
when we're
Seymour.
going against family. That's a very small area that they're talking about. And if their houses are that small and their driveways are that small, it means their house is small. It means they're overpopulating their house, number one. You know, it's crazy. Saying I have 6 kids. What do you got, 2-bedroom house, you put 6 kids in, that's a violation too. You know? When you got a small driveway, small house. A big house, for a lot of people, you got a big driveway. This, my thing is you're making it in a dangerous area between them vehicles. That's, if somebody has bad brakes, parking brakes, whatever on their car, somebody pushes a kid through with a stroller, that car rolls back, they're trapped between them vehicles.
Right. Okay.
That right there should be the only reason why there shouldn't be any parking on there. Besides, it's not their property, it's city property. And me and everybody else, the taxpayers that don't like it, and it junks it up, and it does bring down the value in the neighborhood, because eventually that leads to bigger and worse things that bring the value down more. You know? So if you got so many kids in your family, buy a bigger house, have less kids, pour a bigger driveway, put an extension and make your garage bigger.
Okay.
On your
Stick to the-
property, you can
Stick
do
to the
that.
subject, please, Steve. Do you have any other information? If you have new
They got
information,
2-bedroom houses, they got 5 cars in front of a 2-bedroom duplex. Something telling you there's something wrong there.
okay,
People living in garages, basements, how many, 3 families living in a duplex on one side, 4 on the other, so they got 8 cars? It's all violation. You know?
Right.
Make the rules a little bit tougher, they can't load them up, we can't bring crime into the area, which we did, we brought a lot of crime into that area by allowing this to go on. 40 gunshots last year, you wanna go to bed tonight and have somebody shoot a bullet in your mattress, Mr.
Steve.
Smiley over there?
Steve.
I don't think so, Mr. Roll Your Eyes.
Okay. Tony, and Mark, Mr. Hazard.
A little summary. Okay. We have a 4-bedroom house. Our kids are gone, but they come back a lot. We don't need a bigger house. It's nobody's business how big my house is. I've been parking in the apron for years, okay? I've taught my kids to ride bike on our sidewalk. I push our grandkids in a buggy on the sidewalk. What I look for is cars backing out of the driveway, or somebody getting in the car and getting ready to back out, okay? The idea of a car sitting there and all of a sudden the brake releasing and squishing me between that car and a car in the apron has never happened. So let's stick with reality.
I wouldn't say.
You've had
Steve,
3 people that want to take the rights away from other people. You got 5 people here that have spoke, that are asking you, please leave it alone. We're law-abiding people, we don't bother anybody. By me parking in my apron, it's never caused anybody to shoot a gun in my neighborhood, it's never caused anybody to sell drugs in my neighborhood, those are totally separate issues. Okay, my car in my apron is fine. Doesn't offend, if it offends anybody, I don't care. It's my apron, I'm gonna park there. Thank you.
thanks, Tony. Just one second. Mr. Hazard, then it was Mark.
Well, I guess 5 years ago, you didn't have anywhere near the cars you got now. So you got a lot more cars now, so you got more cars parking in the driveway. So let this go the way it is now. 5 years from now, you're gonna have all the more parked in there. Do you think it's a safe issue? You guys wanna be responsible for these kids who are gonna get hit? Because one got hit by us already. Wait till one gets killed. You guys wanna be responsible? Because a few people think they should be able to park in the apron or driveway? I don't think so.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you, Chair. My district, in District 10, there are a few folks that park on the apron. I guess the one concern I would have about that, let's say in a home, and I'm not gonna start talking about family sizes and this, that, and the other thing, that gets a slippery slope when you start talking about that. But there was a concern at one time when there was one house in my neighborhood that had maybe 5 or 6 cars parked in the driveway, but also in the apron. And I think it could be unintended consequences where there might be noise, there might be issues, that type of thing. But those can be handled. Those can be handled through the police, through various things on that order. I guess I wanted to, some of the citizens that have been complaining against this, I guess, you can look at it. If somebody watches somebody speeding by, they'll say, hey, that guy was going 50. He might have been going 35. I think there's a tendency sometimes you can exaggerate a little bit. I would like to know if in those neighborhoods that the complaints have been, has the inspection department gone out there? Have people gone and taken pictures of these? Is there something that we as alders in the other areas can look at and say, yep, okay, maybe there is a problem there? So that was one of my questions. It seems like there's a lot of hearsay. A lot of people are saying, this is bad, that is bad. So anyway, that's just more or less my point. I don't have a huge issue of that in my area. I haven't had anybody complain to me about it. I think when you look at the apron though, isn't the apron considered part of the city right away?
Apron is right of way. However, when you take out a building permit for a residential home, you are granted occupation rights as part of that driveway.
Okay. Well, and I think
So that goes along with the homeowner.
well, that's a big point then. I think in the past, if you were thinking, well, we can't use that because it's part of the city right away, we have issues in our neighborhood where we don't have sidewalks. So technically, we had an issue where a dog was running up to the edge of the street, and I asked our law department, well, where's the right of way? And they said, well, there's an imaginary line where a sidewalk is, so that dog needs to be an extra 5 feet past. A lot of folks weren't aware of that. So there's these type of questions that come up, and I appreciate you mentioning that. But I don't have any huge problem with it. So at this time, I'm willing to listen though, and I just wanted to make my point.
Thanks, Mark. Christine, Bill, then Steve. Christine?
I just want to clarify something. I don't care that people have, parked their cars like normally driving in a driveway. My concern is front wheels of cars on city lawn and back wheels on the apron. So they're parked parallel with the street. 4 cars on an apron. My neighbor, Dan, has a truck and he has children at home and he has a lot of company. And if they drive in their driveway and they're parking on their driveway, I'm fine with that. But if they put a 30, 40-foot trailer that obstructs your view, it's a safety issue. It just is. And I feel bad for the people that have single-stall garages and smaller driveways, but perhaps they could make a larger driveway, because some people on Edgewood Street have done that, and I'm not so offended at that. I just am worried about the safety issue. So I wanted to clarify the apron parking with 4 cars on it. It's very unsightly, and it is a safety issue. That's my only concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I've had 2 phone calls and 15 emails in supporting that they do not want a new ordinance. They want things left as they are. So that's I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
Alder, could you give me those numbers again?
Yeah, 2 phone calls and 15 emails. It's kind of a hot button thing in my district right now.
Okay. All right. Mr. Seymour, do you have any new information?
Sure.
Okay. New
People that have-
information, remember.
People visiting, whatever, and they're worried they can't park, and they're worried that, well, we can't park in there. Well, you can get temporary overnight parking. Just call Parking Division, tell them you have a vehicle on the road and you have guests overnight, or something happening with an extra vehicle and you can't fit in your driveway. The city allows you to overnight park in short
Right,
term. Sometimes
right.
they'll, if you're getting work done on your driveway, you can park out there
Right.
for a week. They'll give you an okay for that. Somebody wants pictures, I got pictures. I got tons of pictures.
You got pictures? Could you show it to Alderman Steuer, because he requested
This is where,
pictures?
this is what it all leads to. This is just a small
I guess the
amount.
thought I had
This
is.
is just a small amount.
Yeah,
of what
Steve,
this parking
Steve.
leads
Just
to.
let me answer something. I guess one of the issues I have is that any.
Steve, do you just want to give the picture, just a minute,
Yeah,
Mark?
that's fine.
Give him the pictures.
Let me
Let's
just look
give
at-
us some new information, and we'll get back to you, Mark.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you. Any new information, Steve?
Somebody mentioned about going on Edgewood, whatever.
I mean, we know your opinion.
Right.
We got every example from you. Do you have any other examples
I
or
mean,
new
people can
information?
expand their driveways, front yards,
Pardon?
backyards, they can expand their garages to accommodate the more cars that they have.
You already said that, Steve.
Yeah.
Any new information?
And this is why, like I said, my new information was anybody can get temporary overnight parking for guests.
Okay.
They don't have to park them in the apron or on the terrace, whatever you want to call it, between the sidewalk. They can park them on the street.
And this committee is aware of it. So, thank you. Mark?
Well, I don't see, unless I'm blind, I don't see a lot of pictures on the apron. I mean,
Okay.
Well, I've got tons of pictures of cars parked on the apron, but that's what it leads to.
Okay, well,
This is
entertain a
during the
motion
day,
to come
and
back
then
to
at night,
Motion to
they're
recess.
parked on the
So
apron,
return to
they got
regular
crap all
order.
over the driveway and yard.
Okay. Motion to return to regular order of business by Worry, second by Nenning. Under discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you,
Under
Mr.
discussion.
Chairman.
But you want to discuss bringing it back?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Alderman Worry.
Usually get the vote quicker than that.
Pardon?
All right, well,
Steve, if you want to go outside with Mr. Steuer, go right ahead. But now we're in regular order of business, and we're going to be debating this, discussing it, and making a motion, making a recommendation to the full city council next Tuesday. So, Mr. Worry, you got the floor.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we first discussed this issue months ago, I've purposely made a point when I drive around and I'm in the district and around the city to observe. And I've noticed a fair amount of people do park in the apron. Not a lot, but it's more than I thought. I guess I just didn't notice it before. In my 13 years as alderperson, I haven't had a call or an email about parking on the apron. So, want to get that part of the way. Lawn parking over the sidewalk, illegally paved drives, we brought it up. Those are currently violations. Call them in, ride the landlord, ride the tenant, ride the landlord, ride the tenant over and over until we get it corrected. Those are correctable things. The safety issue, is there potential there? Perhaps, but I think it's exaggerated. I do. The same thing happens if people are just parking normally on the street. Someone can scoot between cars and you will not see them. So, for me, I wonder, do we punish good citizens for a few bad apples? You know, the talk, you know, I know there's issues out there, but good Lord, are we really placing all of society's ills in, you know, in Green Bay here on apron parking? That's what it sounds like. That's really what it sounds like. And so I'm gonna make a motion to receive and place this on file.
Okay, there's a motion by Alderman Worry to receive and place on file.
I'll second
Mr.
it.
Seymour, we're in regular order of business, so if you have new information, we'll open up the
I have
floor.
a comment on.
No, we're not. Steve, do you have new information? We're not here to debate, have the
I
citizens
have new
debate us.
information.
Okay, one second. There's a motion to receive and place on file,
I'll second it.
and there's a second by Nenning. Under discussion, Mr. Nenning.
Okay, I'd just like to give you some of my thoughts on this, and, you know, when this originally came to the committee last year, we had a presentation from Mr. Pierlot on the current city parking ordinances. He gave a slide presentation, it was very well done, on what our current practices are, and what's allowed and what isn't. And you know, basically, if I can summarize it, you know, it allows someone to park in their driveway, even though it might be in the right of way, as long as it's not on the lawn, it's not blocking the sidewalk, it's not sticking out in the street. if there are corner visibility issues, I think the city, with the current ordinance, can enforce visibility on corners. I represent a district, an older district, that has the same kind of problems that Mr. Galvin's district does. There are a lot of the homes were built 60, 80, 100 years ago, and you know, they had small driveways, they had small lots, they had small garages. I don't think anybody at that point anticipated that a family would have as many cars as people need today. That's something that has changed in society. But when I look at this, you know, I think it kind of comes down to the haves versus the have-nots, if you will. Those who have large enough garages and driveways and those that don't. And I can tell you, I don't have a lot of people in my district that park like that, but I do have some. And the ordinance that's proposed says that you can't, regardless whether you have sidewalks or not, you can't park anywhere in the right-of-way, on the portion of your driveway that's in the right-of-way. Now, a lot of the people on streets that don't have sidewalks have no idea where the right-of-way ends and their property begins. They feel that they can park on their driveway. They paid for their driveway, they maintain their driveway, they plow snow there, and they feel that they should be able to park on their driveway as long as they don't interfere with the public use of sidewalks, blocking the streets, and so on. I agree with what was said, that I think that if you enforce this proposed ordinance consistently and vigorously, I think you're going to have hundreds of people throughout the city that will be affected negatively by it. And I'm not talking just about rental properties. In my district, there are owner-occupied properties that have those parking needs. And, you know, people try very, very hard in this city to comply with our overnight parking requirements. You know, but sometimes people need places to park cars that, you know, it would be great if everybody had a driveway that was big enough that you could just park parallel to the driveway, and, you know, and there would be plenty of space for all the cars. But a lot of the older neighborhoods, small lots, do not have that ability. You know, I've had people tell me that, you know, if the city's going to take away that parking, then allow overnight parking on the streets. Now, is that better? Is that safer? I don't think it is. I think that would cause more problems and less safety. If you know, and I know in a lot of larger cities you can, even cities our size or smaller, you can leave your cars on the street overnight. I really think that's going to cause more problems than anything. So, you know, enforcement is always an issue. You know, frankly, you know, we could quadruple the number of enforcement attendants we'd have in the city, and they could go around and issue all kinds of tickets every night. It's hard to enforce the current ordinances consistently. And if we add something like this, you know, the parking enforcement attendants would have to know where the right-of-way ends on every street and where their private property begins. People don't know that. I just feel that you know, the city has allowed the use of the apron, as long as you don't, you know, interfere with the public needs. We've done that as long as I know, you know, for many, many years, and now we're proposing to change the conditions so that, you know, that people who depend on that parking are going to have problems. And, you know, I know Mr. Seymour was at the Plan Commission the other day, and, you know, the Plan Commission wasn't quite sure what to do with it, because the Plan Commission doesn't deal with enforcement. The Plan Commission deals with...
Just a minute.
Hearsay and
Just-
dilly-willy. It's hearsay.
Steve, don't interrupt, please.
It's hearsay.
Steve,
This has nothing to do
don't
with
interrupt. Dave, where are you going with the planning commission? That's a different issue that was on there.
Okay, well.
Let's
let
just
me
stick to the parking, please.
Yeah, well, let me stop there,
Okay.
okay?
Now, it's up to the wishes of the committee. Do you want to open up the floor for interested parties once again? If you do, make a motion.
So far, Mr. Chairman, what I've heard is the same thing over and over, and I
It's
know
up to you.
how I-
You're gonna make a
I know.
motion.
I know how I'm voting tonight, and it won't
Okay.
change. So I would suggest people, if they want to talk again, to come to council next week. That's
All
where it's
right.
gonna have its most weight.
Steve, I mean, whatever you're gonna say, you're not gonna convince these two individuals, okay? And this is a recommendation that'll go to the full city council, okay? Mark, did you have a comment?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you, Steve, for giving me these pictures, and if you want to share these with the committee, a lot of what I've seen is like things that are parked on the side.
Well, that's
of the
another
building.
issue we're working with right now.
Right, I
That
understand
one
that.
leads to the other.
But these pictures don't have, there's no cars parked in the apron.
Okay, but
So-
I have that.
But Steve,
Right, but what I'm saying is.
bring the pictures
These are
on the
last
apron,
year's.
Steve, for next
It's
week.
important
These are
that,
just other pictures, one leading to the
I've got
other.
issues with people parking boats
You know,
on
and every
grass.
driveway is
Let me
marked with a
speak.
sidewalk,
Mark,
so that you don't have to
Mark,
explain anything.
Mark, continue.
Okay, I'm just
Stay
saying that
focused with
what
me.
I see here on these pictures are things that I see in my neighborhood at times too. If somebody's parking a boat on the grass, I've been told that, you can't do that. I mean, there's different things that, it doesn't pass the smell test. So if that's a
Right.
problem, you call your inspection department and you get them out there and they look at it. Call your alder
We've
person.
done that.
You do that. You call your alderman.
Mark,
your
there's no violation, so why call the
So,
inspection
Well,
department?
what I'm saying is that if there is what I would suggest is if you think that there is a problem, that you should call your inspection department. They might say, well, look, there's no problem with that.
But it's legal to do it, so.
To park a boat on your
No,
grass.
okay, now we're talking about boats. I'm
What I'm
talking
saying
about
is-
strictly on the apron,
Okay,
please.
well, what I was telling you, Andy,
Yes.
was that there were no pictures that he gave me that showed,
No, I'm telling you what
Okay.
it leads to, what it all leads to.
Steve,
well, what it leads to. Well,
I've
okay.
got the paper.
that's all
Anything else?
hearsay too.
All
That's
right.
all I've got. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion open the floor, because people should be heard. This is where we do the work. But
Okay,
if it strays, if we don't get new material, please shut down.
This is new.
I'll make a
Okay.
motion
this is gonna be
open
new
the floor.
information on parking on the apron.
Correct, that's it.
Okay, I'll second it, Mr.
Mr.
Seymour.
Murray's made a statement to this.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to open up the floor for interested parties by Worry, second by Nenning. We're under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Now, is there anybody else in the audience that wants to speak? Bernie, what do you,
Oh, she didn't speak.
Okay,
well, I don't know what she's here for.
I'm here for the parking.
Okay, Steve, let's let the lady, you want to speak?
Well, I'm.
Do you want to speak, ma'am?
Okay.
Okay,
I'll
name
do
and
it
address
tonight.
for the record.
Sue Peters, 2960 Crusade Lane. We bought our house and our property in the intent that we could park all the way down to the end of the apron, because we have motorhomes, boats, and with you cutting that off, we're not gonna be able to park our vehicles there. So that's gonna force us out of the city. And that's what's gonna happen to a lot of people out in my area, because they have the big motorhomes, and they're parked right up to the end of the street.
Okay.
And because I came in late, that's why I didn't talk, I didn't know if somebody brought that up.
Well, I didn't know you were here for this. So, okay.
Yeah, but anyways, that's
No,
our
that's-
concern, is we built
Okay,
where there's no sidewalks, so we thought we had the right all the way to the end.
thank you. Okay, Mr. Seymour, do you have new information?
Yes, I do. Every home and driveway that is poured with a sidewalk before the apron. So you don't have to teach anybody in parking division where the sidewalk starts and where the apron starts. You got your driveway apron, you got your sidewalk area. Whether there's a sidewalk to the right and left of the driveway, but there's still always something poured for a sidewalk, which you brought up was totally wrong. Because you don't have to teach anybody, because it's already there, the sidewalk's there at the base of the driveway, okay? And Mr. Weary, as far as you say safety, it's no more of a safety issue parking there where people can be trapped in theirs on the street. When there's vehicles parked on the street, a vehicle driving down the road can see a child on a bicycle coming down the sidewalk. When you got cars parked here and here, and a child is coming out here, you can't see that child on a bicycle. You can't see a little kid on that apron. But when the cars are parked on the street, you can got a clear shot of that area. That's why they have that terrace there, for visual, number one. And that's why they don't allow parking there. And I owned, at one point, my construction trailer, an 18-foot, 21-foot boat, and a smaller sailboat. Guess what? The way as I see it, I didn't want to junk up my neighborhood for my neighbors. If you can afford all that, motor homes, trailers, and everything else, you should be able to afford a place to store them when you're not using them, instead of trashing up the neighborhood. For consideration of your neighbors, that's what I do. My boat, my 21-foot boat, down my construction trailer, I pay for rental parking space for them vehicles. So if you don't have enough room in your driveway, find a place to put it. You know, you can afford this and that and this and that. You can't afford $25 a month to park it somewhere, 20. Put it up north on your land up north. What do you got a camper for anyhow? Well, your boat. Plenty of places to store stuff. That's a pretty sad excuse for putting everybody else in danger. Because I don't have room in my driveway for all the stuff I got. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
Anything else?
Jeopardizing somebody's safety, a child's life, over somebody's, because they can't get their camper in their driveway.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to return to regular order of business.
So moved.
Motion by Wary, second by Denny, under discussion here, none, all in favor. Okay, we're in regular order of business. We have a motion on the floor from Wary to receive and place on file, and there's a second by Nenning. The comments, I mean, I remember we talked about this for 6 months. I mean, to me, it is a quality of life, and it's uniformity, and it's safety. In District 3, basically, I do receive phone calls, and it's complaints, and I want to say it's 100% on rental units. I don't think I have, and I cannot remember, I don't believe I have one resident, but I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive, it's all rental units that basically have too many people living in the duplex that are parking on the apron. You look at Abrams, you look at Edgewood, Imperial Lane. I mean, so it is a concern. I brought this forward years ago, and I'm bringing it up again because I have constituents that are concerned about this. When I knock on doors, and I knock on every door within the term, and this is one of the issues, besides other issues that are like the hot potato, that what's going on in the city, but basically, it's parking on the aprons, speeding. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, it's just the basics complaints that I receive in District 3. So that's why I'm bringing this forward, and I'm not going to vote to receive and place on file. And this is going to be a recommendation, like I said before, I'm repeating myself, but I think I should, that this will go to the full city council next Tuesday, correct? It's Tuesday, 7 o'clock? We didn't change anything? Okay. And that'll be the final vote. So I suggest, I mean, anybody who has any concerns that are here to be there, and if you have more pictures strictly on parking on the apron, I suggest to have you bring them there. But I guess that's all I have, and I will we'll vote. So all in favor of receiving and place on file?
Aye.
And I'll vote no. So it's a recommendation to the full city council. Thank you very much. Bernie, can you hear me back there?
Yes.
All right. I just want to make sure. All right, thank you for everyone that came here. Thank you. All right, moving forward. We are at 6, consideration and possible action on the request with Department of Public Works to award contracts 2017 capital improvement program at a staff level subject of the following conditions. Steve, you want to take, can we take A through C? Or?
A through C is all
It's
one
all
item.
one, okay. A, 2017 CIP provides sufficient funding for each program. B, delay in bringing forward a recommendation to award at the next regular scheduled committee meeting would result in the unacceptable delay in starting construction. C, any project so awarded would be reported out at the next regular scheduled meeting of the INS committee. Director Grenier.
This is an item that we brought forward the last couple of years. Due to our summer meeting schedule, that's when we are typically awarding contracts, and the award of contracts could be unnecessarily and unacceptably delayed. This could have a negative effect of increased costs or potentially jeopardize our ability to timely complete the construction. So what we have requested is the authorization from the committee and from the town council to award these construction contracts at a staff level during our, if the project is identified in the CIP. We do have the funding available within the CIP to complete the work. If that delay would result in unacceptable delay in getting the construction started, and that we report those out to you at the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, what are the wishes of the committee? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve the request.
Motion to approve by Nenning, second by Worry. Under discussion, here none, all in favor. Nays, motion carried. 7, consideration with possible action on the review and award of the contract sewers, including water main. Director Grenier?
I'm not gonna have Jim record this in the minutes, but we were very happy with the bid results we got in on this contract. So we had some fantastic numbers here. Staff is recommending that we award Part A in the amount of $783,781 to PTS Contractors, Part B in the amount of $795,640 to PTS Contractors, and Part C in the amount of $698,218.50 to Peters Concrete. All three were qualified bidders, all three were the low bidders.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve the low.
Motion to approve by Nenning, second by Worry. Under discussion, here none, all in favor. Nays, motion carried. 8, consideration and possible action on approval of the following plat of right-of-way. North Webster Avenue from University Avenue to Radisson, project ID 4987-02-64. Director Kinnear.
For those of you who've been part of the committee for a while, or those of you who followed the committee for a while, every time that we have a WISTOP-funded project, we have to go through this exercise with recording a plat, and then shortly after the recording of plat, we will start getting into property acquisition. So this starts the project, records what the plat is going to be. In the months that follow, you will start seeing our property acquisitions, request to purchase, request for relocation, things of that nature. But this is largely a procedural document establishing what the plat for this project is. And again, this is the Webster Avenue reconstruct, North Webster from University Avenue to Radisson Street.
I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Worry, second by Nenning. Under discussion, here none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 9, consideration and possible action on the request by Stillmark Brewing Company to amend existing hold harmless agreement to allow construction of a temporary fence within the right-of-way. Director Grenier?
We issued a hold harmless agreement to Stillmank last fall to allow occupation of the right-of-way. This is something I've been working with Alderman Netting on. So all the conditions of the existing the existing hold harmless are in effect. Stillmank has simply come to us and asked to amend that hold harmless agreement to include the fence, which we feel is actually a safety enhancement for the project. So staff is definitely in support of this amendment.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Nenning, second by Worry. Under discussion, here none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 10, consideration of possible action on applications for concrete sidewalk builders licensed by the following. A, Frank Zeise. B, Helmy Construction. C, Blazer Construction. D, Christensen Concrete. Any company we should be aware of, Director
No,
Grenier?
all of them have held licenses in the past.
No problem?
Second.
We're happy.
All right. Motion by Worry to approve, second by Nenning. Under discussion, here none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 11, consideration of possible action on application for underground sprinkler system license by Irrigation Doctors LLC. Director Grenier,
Irrigation Doctors, good company, we recommend approval.
entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion to approve by Worry, second by Nenning. Under discussion, here none, all in favor. Nays, motion carried. Director's report number 12, Director Grenier.
Okay, 3 items for you real quick. Contracts are starting to bid at a pretty rapid pace. Early signs, we had some concerns where prices were headed based off of the sewers 1-17, parts A, B, and C. We are seeing some price moderation, so we're cautiously optimistic moving forward with bids throughout the course of the summer. Spring yard waste collection, we're in our second rotation. All roads across the city have been hit at least once. We're about 75% of the way through the city on rotation number 2. I'm working with staff to develop some educational information for residents about putting their material out for collection. We've got a lot of people putting it out into the street, and that's actually a violation of our MS4 permit, and we're gonna get in trouble with the DNR over that. So rather than just going out and ticketing people, we're gonna put together some educational information. We're gonna go on a media blitz, try to get the information out there, and then go through the warning process before we actually start citing people. Last thing I did want to make you aware of, we've been entertaining some requests, and historically, we've just denied it, but to film on city property, so within the right-of-way or within our parking ramps. And historically, because of liability issues, we have simply told people, no, you're not allowed to. And what we're finding is people are sneaking in and doing it anyway. Had a discussion with the city attorney's office, and she said if we don't have the staff, we don't have the ability to enforce it properly, a better solution might be to regulate it. So what staff is doing is, we're gonna treat it similarly to special events or obstruction of the right-of-way. We'll execute hold harmless with these folks, make sure they've got insurance on file with the city, and make any costs to the city if we need to provide barricading or things of that nature. Those will be included in the agreement with those petitioners, that they will have to cover those costs, so the city doesn't incur overtime costs or things of that nature. So kind of a combination between a special events, a neighborhood block party, and an obstruction type of application. These are often very quick turnaround. We're seeing wedding photos, senior portraits, things of that nature, and those, we're not going to have that opportunity to get the request from the petitioner, bring that forward to the committee. So we plan on just addressing those at a staff level. If we start seeing that being a problem, we'll definitely be coming back to you and letting you know, but I wanted to let you know that those are kind of things that we are starting to see, and we're just going to take care of that using some existing processes that we have and sort of melding it together so it works and make sure the city's protected. That's our director's report for tonight.
Wish to entertain a motion to receive, place on file by Henning, second by Wery. Under discussion, here none, all in favor, nays motion carried. Okay, we're adjourned.
Move to adjourn.